do you have, as you know, in the training ground, in the facilities, on match day, do you have much interaction with the men's team? Like, do you train at the same facilities? Do you learn? Do you
So
speak to each other, like, or
we do train at the same facilities. We don't train on the same part of the facilities. So
yeah,
we share our portion of the facilities with the academy team, so the under 23s and the under 18s.
yeah,
Um, so I wouldn't say that there's a day-to-day interaction with the men. You would see them about, and sometimes, you know, like the one of them will come and watch a little bit of a session. Pep
yeah?
watched a little bit of our
You
session
did.
yesterday. But
Did
it's
it?
real. It's not. Yeah, he did. He did.
Jesus, that must be
It
quite that must be pretty mad to have, because
Yeah, it is.
he's a global figure. I mean, you've got to respect the women's game and for the progress that it's made. But the fact is that the men's game has had much longer and much more um, opportunity to progress. Do you know what I mean? It's been going on for hundreds of years, and the women's game is relatively new in comparison to that. And I think the strides that they're making is massive, like in the last 5-10 years. Um, but to have someone like Guardiola and his reputation stood there watching you play football, that must be pretty mad.
Yeah, and I think on a deeper level, when you feel that interest from people who are really respected in their own right. So let's say not just that one example, but even falling under the umbrella of the whole club, like the whole club of Man City,
Yeah,
it kind of it kind of like makes it itself take yourself a little bit more seriously, you
yeah,
know? You're
yeah,
like, well, if these big, you know, big companies, big clubs are investing in us, if these big figures are taking an interest
yeah,
in watching us, then yeah, we like, this is quite cool. We are
yeah,
like a bit of a deal to watch.
yeah,
And I think something that really highlights that example actually is when Phil Neville became manager of the women's side.
yeah,
I think there was a real shift, not necessarily at that time in like the quality of the football. It was still the same players that were on the team pre and post him coming into that job. Um, but with him being quite respected in his own right for what he did at Man United, and him being able to generate interaction on social media from other people that played with him at Man United, I think people who are actually just like hardcore football fans probably gave women's football, or were more likely to give women's football the time of day, because there's no getting away from the fact that a lot of the clientele or the type of people that watch women's football is quite family orientated. And so I think it'll be quite hard to break into the market of like just hardcore football fans
yeah,
who are going to watch the football with their mates and they want to have a beer and they want to eat a pie. I
yeah,
think that
yeah, yeah,
I think that's the next level really for
yeah.
people like you to go, do you know what shall I watch this weekend? Oh, Villa isn't on, the men's aren't on, do you know what, I'm going to go and watch the women. And
Yeah,
for that not to be seen as like a weird thing, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
when it gets to that point
yeah.
where normal football fans are willing to go to the women's games, then that's when I think it's
Yeah.
time when it's really
That's
going to be taken seriously.